Alright, so here's my first attempt at attempting to make wheatless bread, as I'm trying to go on this wheat belly diet stuff. So let's see what I have. So I have some all natural almond milk, ingredients wise. I have a little bit of stevia, I'm not sure how you pronounce it, for some sweetness. We'll be using 5 egg yolks, some cinnamon, and I have some almonds over here, and some sunflower seeds, no, pumpkin seeds. This is coconut flour and chia seeds. These will end up making my flour that I'm going to be using. I guess for the biggest thing for us is that we have to make sure we have some other material, and this right here is my mixer. So if you have one of these, that's going to make it a lot easier. A little food processor. Now I just picked this one up and I got it for like 29 bucks at Walmart, so not too bad. That, of course, a lot more expensive, about $200 or $300. And lastly, and probably the biggest part of this whole thing, is a little loaf pan. So you're gonna have to need one of those. Alright, so I will start and get back to you in a sec. Oh yeah, almost forgot. You're gonna need a little bit of pure baking soda. I was lucky I read the box because I almost grabbed baking powder, which I'm pretty sure is different. Alright, cool. Check back in a minute. Alright, so one of the biggest things is that we have to make our own flour since we can't use wheat. So I have a magic bullet and this, and you'll see that we have this little blender piece that I'm going to be using. Not the one that you normally use for smoothies, but this one should be able to chop up the almonds and stuff already to make kind of a flour. So I have my almonds over here. There is some coconut flour already, which I will use, and some of the seeds, and I'm going to mix these up and get them ready. I need about a cup and a quarter of a cup, somewhere in there, so we'll see how much I need. Alright, so one of the biggest issues I find when you're trying to make any kind of flour out of these, different seeds and nuts, is that if you add too much, the moisture inside the almond or whatever you can see it, it's pretty thick. So if you're making your own flour, don't try to make too much at any given time. So basically I do a little bit, I'll pour it in here, do a little bit more, pour it in here, and kind of go from there. If not, you're just fighting with the blender the whole time. Alright, get back to you in a bit. Alright, so my second blend, so you'll see I got a little bit of flour already for the first batch of almonds. The second one here, I've added a little bit of almonds again, but I've added pumpkin seeds to the mix. So we shall see how that blends. It should blend up nice, and I should be close to the quarter cup mark, and or sorry, for the full cup mark, and we'll go from there. Cool. Alright, so the next thing I'm mixing, I should have kind of showed you, I don't know if you can see that, is flaxseed. So this is golden flaxseed, and chia seed. So about a quarter cup, a little bit more than a quarter cup of flaxseed, and just under a quarter cup of chia seed, and we're gonna ground that up. So here she goes. Here she goes. You can see the actual chia seed, the darker color. So let that grind up. Okay, so here we go. You can see a couple different colors there. Just try to get out of the light. So on this side is your almond stuff. That is your chia seed and flaxseed. And I, just for personal preference, throw in usually a tablespoon of coconut flour just to kind of give it a hint of taste. So it's all coming together. Oh yeah, and on just a little bit of a side. So here is my cinnamon. So I'm gonna put just a bit of that in there, not a lot, just enough. That's gonna mix up, fairly nicely. I just kind of give the top area a little bit of a coating. Alright, so we've got everything in there now. Well, most everything for the dry mix. So we've added some melted butter, so that was a quarter of a cup. We've added a teaspoon and a half of baking soda, and a pinch of salt to the mix. So we're going to blend this all up, and then as you can see over here, I've started separating my egg yolks and my egg whites. We're going to end up needing about 5 of those and a little bit of milk, but I'll give you the measurements for that shortly. Alright, so let's see if this blends. So we're going to snap that on right there. Alright, so you can see I got my 5 egg yolks in there. One of the egg yolks didn't crack perfectly, so it got some in the egg white. Anyway, we're going to end up mixing that over here shortly to again add here. Last ingredient I'm going to put in a package of stevia. You know, it says to put in some liquid sweetener, which I don't have, so this is what's going in there. It also wanted buttermilk, which again I don't have, so I am substituting that with just some almond milk just to give it. Now it's not much. They actually asked for, I think it's very little, like a tablespoon, so just enough to give it some moisture, I guess. So I'm hoping the almond milk will do the trick, and we're gonna get back to doing some more mixing, I guess. So put that in there, locked up. Alright, that's been mixing for a little bit, not much, but you can see it's in there. It's really quite thick, which is, I guess, good. We'll soon find out. But the egg whites are going to go in there, so that should kind of give it a loosen. We're going to end up putting those in here. So I am going to, I don't know what I'm going to do here, tilt this back. Alright, get my egg whites, which is mostly egg whites. Those are going in here. Alright. Alright. This is coming down. Lock that back. And let that just kind of go for a bit. And that's just going to mix those up. Now you're supposed to get them until they kind of become a little thicker. So we're going to let them mix for, I don't know, you can see them whitening up right there a little bit. And they probably would be whiter if it wasn't for that little bit of yolk that got in there. So we'll just let that go for a minute or so. So on a side note, you really want to make sure your mixer is set on fairly high, or else you're never going to get those nice little whites that you're supposed to get. So basically you're supposed to get these almost like white tips, almost like as if you're making meringue. So doing it on low speed, you'd never get that. So hopefully this should help. So I'll let that go for a little bit, and that'll get poured into the mix. And I've already got my oven started to go, so got it set at 350, and soon enough. Okay, so she's been blending now for, I don't know, a minute or two, and she's starting to look a lot thicker than when she started. So we're gonna turn this off and lift that up. She should be thickened a little bit. Oh yeah, you can tell she's definitely got some thickness to it. That's good. Alright, and we are going to remove this. Okay. And nicely pour. Oh yeah, that's plenty thick. It's quite amazing that that was eggs just a little while ago. Thank goodness my food processor is as big as it is. That wouldn't have taken much more. Alright, so that's in there. Get that nice little drop. Okay, put that back. Put that over there. And hope. Now, what you don't want to do is just turn this on and leave it on. So I'm going to use the pulse button so we can pulse this. Alright. Now you probably don't want to watch this forever, so I'm going to do this for a little while and I'll get back to you again. Alright, next step finally will just be putting it in the, not with those, putting it in here and putting it in the oven. Alright. Okay, so last steps now. So there it is. looks all blended. Actually, I had to make sure I got my spoon in there. It was so thick that it wasn't getting into the bottom where the mixer is. So it's there now. Last thing I'm going to do, I'm going to grab a little bit of olive oil spray. Not a lot, just enough though. I'm going to just give that a just a bit of a spray just to help it out so that it, there you go, brand out olive oil. Actually, the only reason I have that one is it was on sale. Alright, so we're going to take this now. One hand is much harder. There we go. Take that, and holy, that's thick. So I'm going to put this down the camera so that I can grab a spoon and get that in there. Alright, so looks like I've definitely made a mess. But out of all this and all the mixing and all this, this is ready to go in the oven now. So just gonna wait for my oven to hit 350, and we'll end up putting this in there for about 40 minutes, and we'll see how it turns out. Fingers crossed. Alright, so 40 minutes has gone by. My timer just went off, and we're going to take a look. And there it is. There's my bread. I hope I don't spill it on the floor when I go to pick it up here. So I'm going to let that sit for about 10 minutes to cool down, and then I'll end up taking it off and putting it on a cooking rack. But there it goes. Hopefully it tastes good. It sure does smell good. So, alright guys, you may not have all the same ingredients I have, but knowing the process behind it and knowing what kind of makes flour, what doesn't, what works, and fine tune it. This is my first attempt at making this. So the next time I make it may be slightly different. But, give it a rest. Can't hurt to try. Later.